Hello, it's Rachel Lovegrove here again with another Iyengar Yoga tip of the week. And today we're going to talk about the feet, this time in relation to plantar flexion, which is where the foot is pointed and you have to extend the front of the ankle, and there's a contraction on the back of the ankle and the calf as well. And lots of people have problems with this action in the feet. So I'm going to show you two different ways to work on the feet and the ankles now. You might need a chair or a wall. I'll show you how to use both for balance, because we're going to be standing on our tiptoes. So it is easier if you're focusing on all the different components of the footwork if you've got something to balance with. So you can either have your hands behind you on the wall, or you can use something like a chair or a table where you're not having to lean forwards. You can stay upright in your Tadasana and just use the tips of the fingers as you raise the heels up to balance. I want to talk a little bit about the directions of the feet. First of all, the outer ankle bones are gripping inwards. The inner ankle bones are lifting up. And the front of the ankle here is rolling inwards. The arch of the foot is lifting up. And of course, the roots of the toes, generally we say to our students, spread from the big toe mound to the little toe mound to get that space. So you're as if you're spreading from the thumb to the little finger in your dog pose. Same here, we spread from the big toe mound to the little toe mound. And the roots of the toes have to feel as if they're extending forwards from underneath. And the tops of the feet, from the roots of the toes at the top, draw back towards the ankles. So there's all kinds of directions and things to play with the feet. If you just stand a little bit away from the wall and bring your fingertips onto the wall for balance, and lift your heels up, and try to lift the heels up without swinging the hips forwards, almost like you're on a lever being lifted up into the pelvis, into the spine. And you'll notice all kinds of things happening in the feet. Maybe you're somebody whose ankles roll out, or one foot in particular, or your ankles collapse and press together. So do you just do that first, just to assess where you are in this movement. And one thing that I like to do is to use a bit of fabric between the ankle bones to stop my ankle bones from collapsing inwards, and also to keep the grip from the outer ankle bone. So you just take a folded belt like this, just a single fold, and put that between your ankle bone. I had a student once who didn't like her ankle bones banging together, and she was a tennis player, so she used to put wristbands on her ankles so that she didn't feel. But actually it was quite useful, because with that fabric, it enabled her to feel the contact without the bones pressing together to get that lift. So I'm squeezing that belt with my inner ankle bones. I'm going to use my hands on the wall, and now lifting up. I've got to be very careful now not to let my right foot roll out, because then the belt drops. So I'm squeezing the ankle bones, and I'm also trying to lift the fabric of the belt up. As I can feel, as I press, the ligaments on the little toe edge of my foot are more active, especially on the right one, which tends to be a little bit lazier. And then I'm going to come down. So you can play with that. You can turn and face the wall and raise the heels up a few times, and just discover for yourself how you fluctuate in the feet. You can do one leg at a time, like that. But if you use the belt between the ankle bones, you'll discover really how you balance on your feet. Now, the second pose that I'm going to show you is Virasana. Now, Virasana is really where you're extending the front of the foot. The toes are directly pointing back. When you raise the heel up like that, you haven't quite got the point in the toe. So now we're getting to the ultimate stretch of that foot, or the ankle, I should say, where we're extending the top of the foot completely, calf muscle drawing back. There's a extension of the heel, and we have to try and keep the toes facing straight back. Now, some people struggle with this because of that plantar flexion, where they can't stretch this part of the foot. So the way to sit in Virasana and still work on that extension is, of course, to use a roll blanket under the ankle bones. If you're somebody that sits in Virasana and you have a gap here, this is what I'm talking about. So this should be down on a lift. It shouldn't be floating in the air. So what you do is you put your ankle bone, the front of the ankle bone, on that rolled blanket. So the toes are just dangling off the edge, and then you've got this support here. And it's very comforting to people that struggle with this tightness in their ligaments. And then you put your block on top of the blanket like that. So you're still sitting on a block. You can have 2, 3, 4 blocks. You can have a thicker roll if the gap is very big. But there's no pressure now on that ankle bone. And you can press down on top of the blanket and start to lengthen the top of the foot more evenly without as much pain and discomfort as if you were trying to press into the floor. And then obviously you want to press your hands onto your feet. And I find that if I can get that little toe edge to open out a bit more, then it really does open the ankle, the front of the foot, more equally, more evenly, with less discomfort. And then you can release. Now, the other thing you can do if you want to really increase that length is to raise the foot up slightly. Now, this is a little bit more intense, let's say. And this time, instead of having the ankle bone supported, you support the toes themselves and you sit down in that gap. So can you see my toes are on the blanket? I'm not using a block now, but I'm actually really stretching the front of the foot. So if you're wanting to improve more, this is the way to go, is to get that extension through the front of the ankle by actually increasing the angle of extension, having the toes on the blanket. It's actually quite nice, especially when you come out, because you feel as if something's opened up in the front of the foot and the ankle is nice and soft. So then it's nice to tuck the toes, lift the knees and come into an Uttanasana pose and just feel that circulation coming back into the front of the foot and that warmth in the front of the ankle after those intense stretches. So I hope that helps some of you today with your practice, and thanks for watching. See you next time.